Commiserations on the result, I suppose. How do you sum up what you just witnessed?
Well, the first half was competitive. Had we kicked straighter for goal, we could well have held some sort of a lead. The margin was small enough, and the game was a tight game. It was a pretty even contest. Then in the second half, our ball use really brought us unstuck. They were able to turn the ball over across halfback and score from that, and they got on top around the contest. So when the Giants when they start winning the contest and they start getting on top in the turnover game, it's pretty hard to stop them, and that's what happened in the second half.
You've had a few games this year where there's been sort of big runs of goals scored against you in a particular quarter. Is there anything in particular you think might be going wrong that's allowing that to happen?
No, it's hard to say. I mean, one of our strengths has been, you're probably talking back to the Carlton game, to be honest.
North Melbourne game, Geelong a bit
North
last
Melbourne
week.
game, no, well, we won that.
Sorry,
game.
not North Melbourne, Fremantle.
So the Carlton game, there was a run of scores. We actually had lots of shots ourselves. Tonight we didn't. We kicked 1-6 or something in the third quarter, and they kicked 7-2. So we were getting shots in that game. Fremantle a little bit, during the middle part. But tonight definitely. I mean, one of our strengths this year, our best strength probably, and where we've been most consistent is our team defence. We actually hadn't been leaking a lot of scores against or a lot of shots against, but tonight we did. It just dropped away. We just half a metre off coming forward to put pressure on the Giants. They were able to run at us and then get that next handball. When you allow that, they cut you to pieces. So our sharpness to defend, which had been a strength of ours this year, wasn't where it should have been tonight.
Front half turnovers have long been where you've dominated. You've been able to feed on that, and that's what led you to the grand final this year. Tonight, only 13 points from front half turnovers, sliding back a little. Is there something that's changed in being able to convert that short field into scores for you guys in the approach?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the Giants defended our forwards well tonight. We didn't kick the ball well inside 50. It's a combination of things. We certainly haven't, tried to change the way that we're playing. It's been a pretty successful way to play for the last 5 or so years. But look, sometimes you just got to go back and have a look at the tape and to really work out what happened. But it was more about effort and contest in the second half and turning the ball over, almost unforced at different times.
I read something from Lincoln McCarthy during the week where he was questioning whether you guys are handballing it a bit too much before or playing with your food a bit too much before going in.
I think he might have been talking about that as in the game last week, because we overused handball in the wet against Geelong. I think he was talking about that game more specifically than anything we've done across the course of the season. I mean, tonight our handball to kick ratio was okay. We didn't overuse the ball. We just couldn't get the ball enough.
Did you feel the effort was where it needed to be in the second half?
No. First half I thought was fine. Second half, that's well below par.
What do you put that down to?
It's a good question. I don't really know the answer at this point in time. I have no excuses. We just didn't work as hard as they did.
How do you address that and pick that up and make sure it doesn't happen again?
Well, we'll have a talk about it, definitely. We'll look at the vision of it on Monday. The one thing I do know, though, it sounds all like doom and gloom, but this group has been so good for the last 5 years. I mean, I admire them and respect them for the efforts that they've been able to put in over the last 5 seasons. And so, I'm not going to sit here and bag the team for the way that they performed tonight. I'm in it with them. And the way forward is together. That was how we became a good team in the first place when, my first couple of years with them as coach, we won 5 games in each of the 2 years. But we learned from our mistakes, we stuck together, and we became a good team. And the way out of the situation that we're in at the moment, particularly in the way that we play tonight, is that exact same way. What can we learn? Stick together. We can play a lot better than that, we know that. And our form this year at different we beat Melbourne 2 weeks ago at the MCG. So we know we can play footy. For some reason or other, and confidence is a quirky thing, in sport. It comes and it goes. And I've got to help those boys find their confidence and connection again. That's my job.
Do you think part of it is the evenness of the competition this year? There's no real bad team. You've faced some really, really great teams. You've talked about the win over Melbourne, and GWS were a kick from the grand final last year. You were a kick from winning it. Do you think that makes it a bit harder to build that momentum going through?
Well, it might be in more even competition this year, so that might be something. I don't really know. It's hard to predict, isn't it? I know we've had a tough draw to start the year. You know, we've played the Giants and we've played Carlton and we've played Geelong and we've played Collingwood and there's Melbourne. So there's some pretty good teams that we've played, but in the last few years we've been able to win our share of those games, and this year Melbourne has been the only team that we've been able to turn up and play a really high level brand of football. So something for us to work on, but it's these moments where you find out about yourself as a club. It's a good opportunity. I'm curious to see how we respond in the next few weeks. That's going to be the critical thing. It's not so much about what happens in a game like this, it's what you do about it. So that's what we'll be working on.
Coming into the fourth quarter, what was your focus on what you'd want to see more of the group? What's going to be the takeaway from this? Into
the fourth quarter, we talked at half-time, at three-quarter time, about trying to finish off on a positive. The game was probably gone, but let's see if we can get some score on the board. Let's see if we can turn up the heat on our pressure. It didn't happen, unfortunately. But we had a positive mindset, but just weren't able to execute. The Giants were too good tonight.
Have you noticed any changes this year in the way other teams are sort of defending and approaching you guys? Different tactics, different method, maybe a little bit more hunted, having been up and having been so close last year?
Maybe. Up until tonight, a lot of our numbers have been better than they were last year in terms of being able to get the ball inside 50 and being able to stop the opposition from getting inside 50s. If you study the game, that's what it'll tell you. It won't tell you that tonight, but that's where we've been up until tonight. So, the problem in the first 6 weeks has been scoring accuracy, dropping marks inside 50, a few things like that. Tonight there were a lot more problems. The sheet tonight it's all red. For most of the year this year, there's been a lot more green than there's been red, but there was a lot of red tonight. So we just got to cop it on the chin and try and rise up again. That's the challenge. These things don't last necessarily. So just got to work on getting better next week. It's a 1 week at a time approach.
Giants are taller than most up forward. They run 3.5, 4 tall forwards. How hard is it to stop them? You've got a great defence, as you mentioned. Yeah. They've been really solid. What was the challenge like for you guys, especially considering they didn't have Toby?
Yeah, well, he's a great player, Toby. I thought our backs stood up in a way. Riccardi kicked 3, Brown kicked 3, so they all chipped in, didn't they? But if the ball's coming in like it was coming in, it's hard to defend those guys. They're good players. I thought it was coming in too easily at times.
The up-ground pressure type stuff maybe needed a bit of tweaking. The up-ground
pressure. Well, yeah, that's been one of our strengths this year because we've disallowed that. Teams haven't taken a lot of marks inside 50 against us, but they did tonight. But they were able to get the game on their terms and move the ball too freely for our liking, and they were able to put good scoreboard pressure on. Is the bottom line. I'd have to say I've never seen a team kick so well from outside 50 as they did tonight. It was incredible. I haven't seen that before.
Something in the air here?
I don't know, but
inbound now.
They did kick a lot of goals from outside 50, which is, quite an unusual thing. I don't know what the number was, but it would have been high. Their kicking for goal was outstanding.
Thank you.
Thanks.